This is The Cut. This is The Cut. The Cut Podcast with Pete Ferguson. Film, music, games, entertainment. This is The Cut from Telegraph Talk.
Hello and welcome back to The Cut, and it's, better late than never this week, sorry about that. But the good news is we've got a live track by Franz Ferdinand's frontman, Alex Kapranos, as well as the week's new movies and music. That's all coming up in this week's podcast.
Summer 2010. The Cut from telegraph.co.uk. Live music.
So Franz Ferdinand's frontman Alex Kapranos was at the British Music Experience at the O2 in London recently. He was dishing out advice on songwriting and composition at his masterclass to the audience of teenagers and general music fans. He also performed various live tracks for us, including this one, Walk Away.
I swapped my innocence for pride, crushed the end within my stride, said I'm strong, now I know I'm a believer. I love the sound of you walking away, you walking away. Mascara bleeds a blackened tear. Oh, here, and I am cold, yes I'm cold, but not as cold as you are. I love the sound of you walking away, you walking away. I love the sound of you walking away, walking away. Hey, hey. Why don't you walk away? Won't you walk away? Won't you walk away? No buildings will fall down. Won't you walk away? No quake will split the ground. Won't you walk away? The sun won't swallow the sky. The statues will not cry. Won't you walk away? Won't you walk away? Won't you walk away? Won't you walk away?
And that was the lead singer of Franz Ferdinand performing for us recently at the British Music Experience at the O2 in London.
This is The Cut.
Staying with music for the moment, and here's some new tracks you can check out this week. First of all, Tom Jones, Praise and Blame, has everyone talking at the moment, partly due to the lack of a new sex bomb pop anthem. So, grannies, keep your knickers in the drawer for the moment, because you certainly can't dance to the likes of What Good Am I?
What good am I? What good am I then to the others and me? If I've had every chance and yet still fail to see, if my hands tied, must I not wonder within who ties them and why, and where must I have been?
Katie Melia's new single is out now. It's called A Happy Place from her album The House. And finally, Roux have compiled their first compilation for the new Sidetrack series, which features their favourite tracks, new and old, as well as this cover of Rolling Stones' Under My Thumb. As always, you can stay up to date with the latest music news by heading to telegraph.co.uk/The Cut. Now though, here's our film critic Tim Robey and the week's new movies.
Summer 2010. The Cut. On Twitter, Facebook and telegraph.co.uk/The Cut. Film.
So Tim, last week was huge in terms of box office, Toy Story, Inception and so on.
Yes.
But this week, not quite so big. Rebound, though, is out, starring Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah, this is Catherine Zeta-Jones trying another rom-com, not really traditionally her forte. She made one called No Reservations a few years back, which was pretty awful. This isn't great either, really. It's where she does her kind of MILF thing. She's this mum of two, and she ends up dating this guy who's 25. Her husband, she's in the middle of a divorce from her husband, and she moves to New York and meets Justin Bartha, who becomes her kind of babysitter. And gradually they kind of get it on, and it's going to be a sort of, will they stay together, or is it just a short-term rebound situation?
It sounds pretty rubbish.
It is pretty rubbish. I think Catherine is really struggling with this material. You just don't really believe for one moment that she would sort of settle for this guy who's kind of good-looking but in his 20s and earning no money, when she's got 2 kids to feed and she's kind of super sort of duper, kind of wants a big house and, you know, all that kind of thing. It's a pretty hard movie to buy into.
Don't spend your money on Rebound by the sounds of it. If I had, say, £10 in my pocket, should I go and see the new sci-fi film Splice?
Splice, this is better, certainly more interesting. It's a Canadian director whose films are a bit like sort of sub-David Cronenberg. He made a film called Cube, another one called Cypher. This one stars Adrian Brody and Sarah Polley as these 2 genetic scientists who come up with this cobbled together kind of half-human, half-animal gene splicing experiment, which goes wrong and produces this strange being who they call Dren, which is nerd backwards. It gets very strange. It's quite icky. It's not really the full-on horror movie that I think people might expect from that sort of material. I think it's interesting up to a point, and I just think it becomes just too silly.
Do they know that they're being silly? Because sometimes they do that almost deliberately.
It is trying to be a bit knowing, yeah. There's a big scene where a couple of their other experiments are displayed to an auditorium, and they start attacking each other, and blood just sort of explodes everywhere all over the audience. And that's sort of and then they cut to a boardroom with their kind of superiors saying, so what happened there exactly? And it's definitely going for a bit of a dark comic laugh, but I think that's selling out the material in a way, because it could have been an interesting movie about the ethics of cloning and that sort of thing. And I think along the way, the director just decided, no, I want to do kind of crazy, icky stuff, and we'll see where it goes.
Missed opportunity.
A bit, yeah.
Our friend Clive Morgan recently went to go and interview Andy Garcia, who's produced City Island, the family drama.
Yeah.
Clive says he's very nice. Does he produce a good film?
Well, Andy Garcia is really pretty good in it. He stars in it too. He's often an actor I find quite hard to sympathise with. He can be pretty sort of difficult and cold, but in this he's rather engaging. And his wife is played by Juliana Margulies, who I think is brilliant in it. The movie isn't a great deal. It's this little family drama set in Brooklyn, but it's quite sweet. I think it's the kind of movie you could happily watch on a in-flight situation. It's the kind of film you could happily watch in flight and, you know, have a perfectly good couple of hours.
When you've got nothing else to do. Yeah. Just very quickly, obviously halfway through July now, any other big films that we can look forward to before the end of the summer?
Well, we've got a couple of fairly big 80s remakes, The Karate Kid and The A-Team, so we'll see how that goes. And there's the new Step Up movie the week after, and I have seen the Tom Cruise Cameron Diaz vehicle Night and Day, but the less said about that, the better.
Okay, I look forward to checking out those films, I think, in a couple of weeks, and giving these 3 a miss by the sounds of it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. All right, Tim, thanks very much.
Okay.
And that was our film critic Tim Robey rounding up this week's edition of The Cut. Thanks very much indeed for listening as always. Don't forget you can subscribe in iTunes as well as listen live online at telegraph.co.uk/The Cut. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Probably the best thing to do is head to twitter.com/The Cut podcast. And if you want to get in contact, it's The Cut at telegraph.co.uk. If you're into Formula One, and wow, what a season it's been so far, keep up to date with all the Formula One news by heading to telegraph.co.uk/F1, and you can listen to our podcast. Thanks again for listening. I'm Pete Ferguson, and that was The Cut.